Guys, I'm going to show you guys that I do shave on my own. I shave daily, sometimes twice a day. I often do wake up in the morning, in the wee hours of the morning, and uh, and uh, and I work until late morning, and sometimes that's when I actually do shave. But I usually shave early. I do usually shave early in the morning. I shave my head. I do shave my facial hair, and I'm not speaking about my eyebrow. I never do that. I never shave my eyebrow or my eyelash. Clearly.
The campaign is more than happy to have them. They're like, come on in, the tent is big. That's the argument that Haley has made the entire time she's been a candidate. Her concern with Trump is his unelectability in a general, because he basically says, all right, if you're not with me now, then you're always against me. This idea that voters were barred permanently just because they backed Haley during the primary.
So I'm going to explain a few things. I'm gonna demonstrate to you guys that I do shave on a daily basis, and I'm not joking around when I say this. They said, well, how is that evidence that I actually do so? Well, my hair is always a clean cut, always lowly shaven, and damn near bald. And I'm going to show you guys that I do so myself. And if you guys don't believe that, it's just going to serve as evidence that you guys just don't want to believe me. I say this with a smile, not with hate. But anyway, all right. But yeah.
Did Dad get a chance to chill?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want you guys to know.
Guys, what about the magic?
I do have Wi-Fi, as demonstrated.
No one does fun like Carnival.
Hold on, the show.
That he fears for the soul of
AC.
Israel. And I wonder what you think. Given you've seen with your own eyes these selfies that Israeli soldiers are taking of themselves in Gaza. Do you think that
Hold on.
this is, I guess, diminishing the self-proclaimed notion of the most
It's
moral
actually
army in the
Wednesday.
world?
But
I will not call any army in the world the most moral army in the world. I think that this is a doomed kind of
but it's Wednesday
competition.
right now, and it's
I do think that Israel, the Israel that I
4:12 in the
have grown
morning.
up in,
I mean,
I have
4:12
known, that I
in the
have loved,
afternoon.
that I
It's
still
actually
love.
4:12 in the afternoon
This
Eastern
kind of
time.
Israel
And,
has attempted
and
in
this
the
might be
best possible way
international, so I'm not
to
sure. But,
diminish the suffering of both ourselves and our enemies, and certainly our enemies.
why? I guess I'm not too sure why they would
We
cry
fight.
over that.
And hence all civilians deserve to be protected.
Why they would actually cry over me
Have
documenting all
been
this.
tried.
Well, anyway.
The IDF has attempted to diminish the danger to civilians, not always successfully.
And so I'm gonna have to place it on CBS News again. And yeah, Michael Jordan was pretty awesome and he's clearly the greatest basketball player ever.
Are those down ballot races,
random,
including the
but
governor's race? You have the current lieutenant
That's not
governor
really random.
and the current attorney general facing off in November. Whether or not they will help Biden or Biden will help them for the Democrats is yet to be seen.
All right, all very interesting stuff. Torian Small, we appreciate the update. Thanks very much.
So, all right, I'm gonna have to demonstrate to you guys. So yeah, I don't know why he keeps but anyway, I do shave on a regular basis. I do shave, as I said, I shave in the morning on a regular basis. Sometimes I shave twice a day, including in the afternoon. But if I go a day without shaving my head, I always shave my facial hair. And sometimes I shave it late in the morning or early in the afternoon if I'm working all day long on the computer or my smartphone, as in this situation. I've had to do away with set my laptops to the side or just let them go because they were being hacked into, I don't want to say national security or homeland security or personnel, but folks who clearly are not interested or in adoration of integration-ish project and programs that related to the Central Intelligence Agency, Interpol, the United Nations, and so on. And some of my colleagues who are working on material, certainly not of my particular concentration or focus, but still based on humanism and human development for the most part, in approaching multinationalism and approaching multiracialism and so on, did complain that some of their computers, their laptops were being hacked into. And it's certainly not by me. I'm not that sort of person. But anyway, yeah. So I do shave on a regular basis, and yes, so we do target white nationalists and white supremacists. We do target, uh, and we do so lawfully, white nationalists, white supremacists, in receiving complaints when receiving their complaints, and xenophobic activists, meaning anti-immigrant activists, xenophobic activists, uh, not necessarily of any particular uh, race or ethnicity or anything else, but in general. And because we approaching we approaching a global war, a world war, and we approaching establishing the EAA, the Free Trade and Economic Area of the Americas. I created that, and there's no sort of dissent at this particular point that actually makes sense. And we approaching the EAA and we approaching the Union of the Americas in 25 years, and there aren't going to be any borders. We just want to make sure that immigrants are safe in this particular country, and immigrants in all other countries are safe also, especially in the Americas, but everywhere else, the whole globe. That's one of our main priorities, just one of our main priorities, fundamental priorities in engaging the new paradigm, the paradigm of integration, the order of integration. I coined that term, that phrase, but it's honest and it's true. Okay, so yeah, so that's the post. That's the mailman, the postal worker, mailman. I guess he was just he's just driving around the neighborhood, making his rounds. Delivering mail. For the most part, that's essentially what all postmen and women do. Some are hired by the federal government of the United States to work for the Central Intelligence Agency and providing information on community activities and this and this and that. I had to sanction that. I had to authorize that, reauthorize that. Once again, so some of the local, state, some of the state and local government workers, they do secretly work for the Central Intelligence Agency, and they will never reveal this to their colleagues or even their bosses at that particular level. And they do, like postal workers, the mailmen and mailwomen, they do assess community activities. They do make note of, the conditions of communities, neighborhoods, and this and that. All right. So, but anyway, I do shave on my own. Uh, I'm not too sure why folks were saying that I don't shave my own head. I'm very on my facial hair, or I'm very confused to why some of the folks that I went to school with, university with, back at Harvard University and elsewhere, falsely communicated otherwise at times. I did I did live in Western New York, in the Buffalo area for about 3 years, actually 3 years, and I did have my own apartment. No one else lived with me in Eden, New York. I did, I do recall having Spectrum internet and TV services. I do recall, yeah, this and that. So don't believe that I only favor AT&T. We've my family we've done Comcast, Spectrum, this and that. But that's a bit off topic. But anyway, I shave my own head, and I said, what's the point of you actually doing this on camera or video and actually documenting it? Well, I'm pretty sure it makes sense considering some of the lies, absurdities actually communicated, and me no longer ignoring them, making sense to some of these individuals. So I'm going to be very humble in doing so, very modest in doing so. All right. Okay. Yeah, it's still, yeah, once again, it's March the 6th, 2024, 2024. We have an assortment of channels and stuff. The folks here guarding this particular house, the residential house, as I'm pretty sure they're not too bored. We're just making sure that the security measures and security apparatus for the CIA's benefit and being all over the country and it being pronouncedly here in Florida, in the state of Florida, and in providing protection to me and my immediate family, meaning my biological family, my father who's still in Canada, and my siblings and my biological daughter, and then I'm gonna get back with Rashida Williams. We're gonna reunite. She's not my biological family member, but she's the mother of my daughter, and we're gonna reunite, and we're gonna be conjugal again for the most part, or we're gonna be officially conjugal, and then this is gonna happen in a few weeks, and she's just gonna have to trust me over everyone else, and just be a humble person and not say that and not communicate that I have to prove that. There's going to be a lot of painful, a lot of the folks who have kept us apart and kept my daughter away from me, trying to rationalize having done so. It's wrong. It's wrong, and it's only going to bring pain. And I'm not going to coerce it. I'm not going to force it onto anyone. But I do understand how things work. So I'm trying to protect her as much as possible. She was misguided more than you guys think, and she was coerced into being completely fearful of the situation and remaining immediately in my life. And so that's the reason why I'm going to be able to walk her into the celestials, and we are going to be reformed into corporate identities with the Central Intelligence Agency and Interpol. She's going to be reformed in our perspective. She's going to be more sort of a globalist, an internationalist. She's going to be a multiracialist in our perspective also, and she's going to appreciate the spectrum of African American. All right, she's going to appreciate it, and she's going to appreciate my background in having been raised partially in the Caribbean and having audited and even lived for about 6 months as a visitor to Canada, Ontario, Canada specifically. My dad actually lives there, and he's moving back to the state of Florida. But I was there for about 6 months. I did audit. I did audit and rest. Hung out with family when necessary. But I was I was under security protocol. They just had to make sure that I was safe. A lot of stuff happened in the United States at that particular point to get folks off my back. And then I returned to the United States to do my job. I took a trip to Antigua and Barbuda to be with my mother, not to be with my mother, but to make sure that the folks in the Caribbean were briefed, and that the United States was going to replace the British government in totality, in guiding the Caribbean community, and separately, the member states within the Caribbean community, the British government is totally, in actuality, in all honesty, being removed from the Caribbean community. They're still going to operate in the British territories, the BVI and Montserrat and so on, just the official and nominal British territories, not cultural British territories or past territories of associated states. The British government, or the United Kingdom of Great Britain. And there's nothing wrong with the British government. We've made a deal with Interpol, and and the British actually were initially the indoctrinators, the incorporators of Interpol. We hide it in history, but the British clearly were the inventors of Interpol per recommendations from the United States government. France covered it up, and France is going to keep covering it up. France will continue to cover that particular fact up without offending the world, and so forth. But anyway, so what I've provided to you guys aren't based on any lies or any horrible or horrid intent. All right, guys. So, guys, I cannot handle anyone actually saying that they cannot handle me being happy. I cannot handle anyone saying that they cannot handle seeing a smile on my face, or me actually being elated with the work I'm doing. I cannot handle it. I can't handle it anymore. I've sacrificed too much. So that's why I'm being a bit quite. That's why I'm being quite assertive at this point. It's time for me to accept my trust fund and estate accounts $10 million without feeling bad anymore. I've worked so hard ever since 12 years old in Antigua and Barbuda, and having enrolled into a Central Intelligence Agency and Interpol program while at St. Joseph Academy, the only individual who actually passed all the tests, and not just being a genius, but in being socially responsible and being ethically uh, motivated. I was very, very kind as a kid, very, very wise, very introspective, very considerate, very thoughtful. But anyway, I've worked hard. We've traveled all over the place. I've moved from family house to family house, operatives, apartments, university programs, this, ever since, beginning at 12 years old. And I've worked not just as a top student, but I've had to travel and I had to learn so many different things. And not, even though I'm clearly a genius, and as a kid, what was noted of my high intelligence was based on memorization skills, pretty assessment of others. But that was honestly just some sort of a biased assessment. I was always very diverse or diversified in being able to apply exceptional intelligence and and uh, and skill sets. Ever since a child, a young boy, I was very exceptional. So I'm not bragging at all. I just want you guys to know why I was so okay in being as humble as I appeared to have been, and in all honesty, as I was over the past 15 years or so, even before that. So I do want you guys to understand that, and it's more than who I am. In speaking of us, the celestials and the things I've revealed in top secret information, which are not going to be online for forever. Eventually, later this year, I'm going to have to remove everything. The Central Intelligence Agency, per my discretion, will remove everything from online that's top secret. The emergency situation and having to help save the planet from dissolving the United Nations and ending up in some sort of annihilation mode. uh, I had to reveal what I revealed. I'm not psychotic. I'm not schizophrenic. I'm not sick. I'm not oppressed to the point where I have no other choice but to say crazy things. I'm being honest, So please don't say that you guys can't handle me being happy, and please don't say that I'm going to have to demonstrate that I believe in immigrants having to be poor first before they can actually work for the federal government or be wealthy. That's no, you don't want to believe that at all. And you guys believing that I haven't worked for the federal government yet, that's just a joke. All right, I clearly run the federal government of the United States. I clearly do. And I don't want to say that the Central Intelligence Agency is going to be quite demonstrative in demonstrating this, but I have to accept that it's just going to be that way. All right, so I want you guys to know that. All right, so I'm very humble, and it's not deceptive. That itself is not deceptive. Okay. Oh, not editing my book, the book sketch published with iUniverse, and being deceptive. That was humble, you know. That was humble. That was humble. The introduction parts, the introductory parts of the first paragraph, and the end notes were clearly unedited, and just I wasn't rambling at all. I had to make sure that I not dumped, but I had to make sure that I had documented each and every idea and topic that I needed to write on, that I needed to actually write on. And so it's a lot of information. Certainly it was not garbage at all, but the end notes and the introduction parts were unedited, heavily unedited, and they were and it was demeaning. But that's what I had to do to be able to maintain my path toward my $10 million being transferred to an American bank account designated solely for my use and control and monitor on a daily basis as I decide, and no one else is going to be given any appropriation from that fund, from the funds in the accounts, the related funds and accounts. So there's not going to be any implied or express consent toward that. When I do when I do enter an official marriage, publicly declared, whoever is my wife, and I told you guys who my wife is going to be already, then she'll be able to enjoy the my financial stability, my financially competent condition. Okay, so I had to purport being financially incompetent. I'm clearly not interested in being wealthy and famous and this and that. Just toward doing the right thing and toward making sure that I'm happy in the future and in the long term, as I've had to explain, over the past few weeks and few months and over the past few years, actually, in so many different communities and now in the public or a bit more publicly. All right, guys. So I want you guys to know that when I grew up in the Caribbean, I did have a Caribbean accent. And when I needed to speak in dialect, when I was back in the Commonwealth of Dominica, I spoke in dialect. I never spoke Creole, Patois, or Patois. I never had to. My parents never taught me any of that. I spoke proper English, and when we were joking around in the community or in the neighborhood, I spoke dialect like everyone else. So I speak perfect English at all times, and usually I'm very fluent without any sort of spaces in between the pauses. But every once in a while, I do have to pause just to let you guys know that I'm not some sort of automated computer program or some sort of computer generated program or augmented reality. I don't know why they thought that was possible, but I just had to make sure to communicate this to you guys. Okay? So that's the reason why. I speak perfectly. I can be a perfect orator if necessary, but I don't have to be right now. In 20 years, I'm gonna be the greatest orator on the planet. As world president, elected by the General Assembly of the United Nations or World Congress, and that's never gonna change. That future is never gonna change, no matter what anyone says. That's already guaranteed by the whole world, and including the United States government, unknown to certain individuals within our government, and that's okay. I'm not gonna be oppressive to anyone. How are you guys? How are you guys? You guys doing okay? That's good. That's good. Those are not my children. Those are just neighborhood kids playing around the neighborhoods and so forth. In the neighborhood and so forth. But you can see a lot of biracial kids who are temporarily in the neighborhood. We're making sure that the neighborhood the community knows how to appreciate that and get accustomed of seeing biracial couples and biracial children and so forth. I ordered that clearly. All right, so that's what's going on. But I'm not joking around, okay, guys? I'm very serious about what I'm saying. All right, so I'm getting a bit hoarse right now. I might sound a bit hoarse right now. All right, but yeah.